Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we are taking a close look at a fascinating piece of American coinage. Coin number 1. This 1999 United States state quarter with the P mint mark and the black condition described for this particular example. If you have ever searched through pocket change, old coin jars, bank rolls, or a family collection, you may have wondered whether an ordinary-looking quarter could actually be worth much more than its face value. The 1999 State Quarter series is especially interesting because 1999 was the first year of the famous 50 State Quarters program, making these coins historically important to collectors. The coin we are discussing today has a P mint mark, indicating that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and according to the market value figure provided for this video, this particular example is valued at approximately $115. But before assuming that every 1999 with P state quarter is worth $115, it is extremely important to understand that condition, the specific state design, errors, varieties, surface quality, grading, and collector demand can make an enormous difference in the value of an individual coin. The first thing that makes the 1999 state quarter special is its place in American numismatic history. The State Quarters program began in 1999 and introduced a completely new reverse design for each participating state, creating one of the most popular modern United States coin-collecting programs ever produced. Instead of seeing the same traditional quarter reverse year after year, collectors suddenly had a reason to search through their change for different designs. 5 states were represented in the first year, and millions of Americans began collecting the coins. Because of this enormous public interest, the 1999 quarters remain highly recognizable today. For collectors, the date 1999 immediately attracts attention because it represents the beginning of an era. A 1999 quarter is therefore not simply another modern quarter. It is part of the first chapter of one of the most successful collecting programs in American history. Now let us focus on the P mint mark. On United States quarters, the mint mark can provide important information about where the coin was produced. A small letter P identifies Philadelphia. When examining a 1999 state quarter, collectors should carefully locate this mint mark and make sure that it is genuine and clearly visible. A normal P mint mark by itself does not automatically make a quarter rare or extremely valuable. However, the mint mark becomes an important part of identification because collectors often separate coins by date, mint, state design, condition, and variety. If your coin has a P mint mark, the next step is to identify exactly which 1999 state quarter design you have. The 5 original 1999 designs were Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut. Each design has its own collecting history, and values can vary depending on the individual issue and grade. When we talk about the black condition mentioned for today's coin, we should also be careful about what that appearance actually means. Dark, black, or unusually toned surfaces can develop for many reasons. Environmental exposure, storage conditions, chemical reactions, dirt, oils, oxidation, or improper cleaning can change the appearance of a copper-nickel-clad coin. A dark appearance does not automatically mean that the coin is rare. In fact, professional collectors generally examine the surfaces very carefully to determine whether the coloration is natural toning, environmental damage, staining, or another surface characteristic. This is one reason photographs alone may not be enough to determine a precise market value. The coin should ideally be examined under good lighting and magnification, with attention given to both the obverse and reverse. The obverse of a 1999 state quarter carries the familiar portrait of George Washington. When examining this side, collectors should look closely at the date, lettering, portrait details, rim, and overall surface. On a circulated coin, normal wear may appear on the highest points of Washington's portrait and around the lettering. Scratches, contact marks, discoloration, and other signs of circulation can also affect desirability. For a coin being considered for a premium value, collectors should carefully examine whether the details remain sharp and whether the surfaces have unusual characteristics. If the coin has strong detail and attractive surfaces despite its darker appearance, That could make it more interesting to collectors than a heavily damaged example. The reverse is equally important because the state quarter design identifies the state represented by the coin. This is where you should pay particular attention to the design elements: lettering, state name, inscriptions, and any unusual characteristics. If you discover something that appears different from a normal example, do not immediately assume that it is a valuable error. Compare it carefully with authenticated examples or trusted numismatic references. Many apparent errors are actually caused by normal wear, damage, dirt, machine doubling, die deterioration, or environmental effects. Genuine mint errors can be valuable, but they need to be identified correctly. One of the most important lessons for anyone collecting 1,999 state quarters is that condition matters enormously. A quarter that has spent years circulating through thousands of transactions can develop scratches, nicks, flattened details, and dull surfaces. Another example from the same year and mint can remain nearly untouched and preserve much more original detail. These two coins may look similar to someone who is unfamiliar with grading, but experienced collectors can see significant differences. Professional grading companies assign grades based on factors such as wear, luster, strike quality, marks, and overall preservation. In the highest grades, small differences can have a major effect on market value. That difference between ordinary circulated value and premium collector value is extremely important. It means you should never look at a headline claiming that a 1,999 quarter is worth hundreds of dollars and assume that every coin from 1,999 has that value. The details matter. A regular circulated coin may remain close to face value, while a very high-grade example, unusual error, rare variety, or exceptionally preserved coin can attract much greater attention. This is one of the reasons coin collecting is so exciting. Two coins with exactly the same date can have dramatically different values depending on what happened to them after they left the mint and whether they possess a recognized collectible characteristic. Another important factor is the possibility of mint errors. When examining your 1,999 with P state quarter, look carefully at the rim, lettering, date, state design, and overall alignment. Major off-center strikes, wrong planchets, dramatic die errors, and other authenticated minting mistakes can be highly collectible. However, small imperfections should not automatically be called errors. A scratch caused after the coin left the mint is damage, not a mint error. A dark spot caused by environmental exposure is not automatically a rare variety. A weak-looking letter can result from die wear or circulation. Proper identification is therefore essential before assigning a high value to any coin. The edge of the quarter deserves attention as well. Because modern clad quarters have a layered construction, the edge can reveal important information about the coin's composition and whether it appears normal. Examine the edge under good light and look for anything unusual, such as an abnormal color, missing layer, strange thickness, or evidence of a different planchet. But once again, collectors should avoid jumping to conclusions. Many unusual-looking edges are simply the result of wear, staining, exposure, or lighting. A genuine major composition error is something that should be professionally examined. If your coin has a dark or black appearance, do not clean it before having it evaluated. This is a very important rule for coin collectors. Cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces that may reduce the coin's desirability. Even if the coin appears dirty, polishing or using chemicals can permanently alter the surface. Collectors generally prefer coins that retain their original surfaces. If you think you have found an unusual or potentially valuable coin, place it in a safe holder and avoid rubbing the surfaces. Collectors should also remember that market value and selling price are not always the same thing. A price guide may list a particular figure, but an actual coin can sell for a different amount depending on timing, venue, buyer interest, and condition. Auction results can fluctuate. A dealer may offer less than retail because the dealer needs room for overhead and resale. A private collector may be willing to pay more for an example that completes a collection. This is why it is useful to compare several sources rather than relying on one number. The 1,999 state quarter program also has tremendous historical appeal. Think about what was happening when these coins were introduced. The United States was approaching the end of the 20th century. and the mint was beginning a coin program that would change how ordinary Americans interacted with circulating currency. Children started collecting coins. Parents searched their change. Coin albums became popular. Banks received rolls of newly released quarters, and collectors searched them for the newest state designs. The program transformed the quarter into a miniature history lesson, with each state receiving its own reverse design. If your example matches the specific characteristics being discussed in this video and has been assigned or supported by appropriate evidence at the approximately $115 market level, it becomes a much more interesting coin to investigate. But remember that a market figure should always be connected to the exact coin. The date alone is not enough. The P-mint mark alone is not enough. The dark color alone is not enough. The combination of date, mint, design, condition, era or variety status, and market demand is what determines the collectible value. For viewers who are searching through old collections, this is a great time to start checking your state quarters. Look for the first year 1999 issues and separate them by state and mint mark. Examine the coins under a bright but controlled light. Use a magnifying glass to inspect the lettering and design details. Compare suspected errors against normal examples. Keep your best coins protected and record where you found them. You may be surprised by how much you learn simply by comparing several examples side by side. It is also important to understand that not every valuable coin is extremely old. Many people assume that only 19th century or early 20th century coins can be worth serious money. Modern coins can also become valuable when they have exceptional grades, rare errors, unusual varieties, or strong collector demand. The 1999 state quarters are a perfect example of why modern coinage deserves attention. They were released during the lifetimes of many people watching this video, yet they are already part of American numismatic history. The story of the 1999 with P state quarter is ultimately a story about paying attention. A quarter is easy to overlook because it is common currency. But collectors know that small details can make a huge difference. The date, mint mark, state design, condition, surface quality, strike, and possible errors all tell a story. When you slow down and examine the coin carefully, something that looked ordinary can become an interesting piece of history. And that is exactly why coin hunting remains so exciting. You do not always need an ancient coin or a famous rarity to have an enjoyable discovery. Sometimes the excitement comes from finding a modern coin with an unusual characteristic and then researching its history. The 1999 state quarter is especially fun because it marks the beginning of a program that encouraged millions of people to collect coins. Whether your particular example is worth face value, a small premium, or the approximately $115 figure discussed here, it is still worth learning how to identify and preserve it correctly. Before we finish, take another close look at your own 1999 state quarters. Check the date. Check the P-mint mark. Identify the state. Examine the surfaces. Look carefully at the lettering and design. Inspect the edge. Check the weight if you suspect something unusual. And most importantly, do not clean the coin. If you discover a genuine variety or mint error, the coin may deserve professional attention. If you enjoyed this detailed look at the 1999 with P state quarter, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we are constantly exploring American coins, rare quarters, valuable pennies, Jefferson nickels, Roosevelt dimes, Kennedy half dollars, mint errors, unusual varieties, and coins that could be hiding in collections and everyday change. Share this video with another coin collector and let us know in the comments whether you have ever found a 1999 state quarter with an unusual color, error, variety, or condition. Remember, coin collecting is not only about money. It is about history, preservation, research, and the thrill of discovery. A small quarter can carry a story that lasts for generations. So before you spend that next 1999 state quarter, turn it over, check the mint mark, study the details, and take a second look. You might be holding a fascinating piece of American history right in the palm of your hand. Next coin number 2. This 2000 United States state quarter with the P mint mark in very fine condition. This coin comes from one of the most popular collecting programs in American history, the 50 State Quarters program, and for today's video, we are discussing a market value of approximately $113 for the specific example described. Before we get into the details, however, it is important to understand that not every 2000 with P State Quarter is automatically worth $113. The actual value of any individual coin depends on the exact state design, condition, surface quality, errors or varieties, certification, and current collector demand. The purpose of this video is to explain why this coin can attract attention and what collectors should look for when they discover a 2000 with P Quarter in their collection. Now let's focus on the P Mint mark. The small letter P indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For collectors, the Mint mark is one of the first things to check, because State Quarters were produced at both Philadelphia and Denver for circulation. The Philadelphia issues carry the P Mint mark, while Denver issues carry the D Mint mark. A P Mint mark by itself does not automatically make a quarter rare, but it is an essential part of properly identifying the coin. If you have a 2000 quarter, turn it over carefully and locate the mint mark associated with that particular State Quarter design. Once you confirm the P, you can move on to the next important step, identifying the state. There are 5 different 2000 with P State Quarters that you could potentially have. The first is Massachusetts, featuring the famous Minuteman and an outline of the state. The second is Maryland, whose reverse design incorporates symbols associated with Maryland's history and identity. The third is South Carolina, featuring important state symbols. The fourth is New Hampshire, famous for its depiction of the Old Man of the Mountain and other elements associated with the state. The fifth is Virginia, which celebrates the historic settlement of Jamestown. Each of these designs has its own story, and each is a separate collectible in a complete State Quarter collection. The 2000 with P Massachusetts Quarter is particularly recognizable because of its Minuteman design. The figure represents the historic citizen soldiers associated with the American Revolution, making this quarter a small piece of American history. When examining the coin, look closely at the Minuteman's outline, the surrounding lettering, the state name, and the overall quality of the strike. A heavily circulated example may show considerable wear, while a well-preserved example can retain sharper design details. Collectors should always compare the coin with normal examples before deciding that a feature is unusual. The Maryland Quarter has a completely different appearance. Its design includes symbols connected with Maryland's history, including the Maryland State House and elements of the state flag. The intricate design can make the quarter particularly interesting to examine under magnification. On a circulated coin, some of the finer details may become less distinct over time. A very fine example can still retain substantial detail, but it will normally show evidence of circulation. The difference between very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated condition can become very important when collectors evaluate value. The South Carolina Quarter is another interesting 2000 issue. Its reverse incorporates recognizable symbols of the state, including the palmetto tree and other important imagery. Because State Quarters were designed specifically to represent the identity and history of each state, the reverse side is more than decoration. It is effectively a miniature historical illustration. This is one of the reasons collectors enjoy the series, even when an individual coin does not have a significant monetary premium. The New Hampshire Quarter is also highly recognizable because of its depiction of the Old Man of the Mountain. The design is especially interesting from a historical perspective because the natural rock formation became one of the most famous symbols of New Hampshire. Unfortunately, the Old Man of the Mountain collapsed in 2003, meaning that the quarter preserves an image of a landmark that no longer exists. This gives the coin additional historical interest for collectors and makes it an excellent example of how State Quarters can preserve snapshots of American history. The fifth 2000 State Quarter is Virginia. Its design celebrates the founding of Jamestown and the historic voyage associated with the establishment of the settlement. The quarter therefore connects modern American coinage with one of the most significant chapters in early American history. When you look at the reverse, you are not simply looking at a design printed onto a coin. You are looking at a compact historical representation that was intentionally selected for national circulation. Another important factor is the mintage of these 2000 with P State Quarters. According to published State Quarter mintage data, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 628.6 million Massachusetts quarters, 678.2 million Maryland quarters, 742,576 million South Carolina quarters, 673.04 million New Hampshire quarters, and 943 million Virginia quarters. These are large production numbers, which means the 2000 state quarter is especially interesting because it represents the second year of the United States 50 state quarters program. The program began in 1999 and continued with 5 new state designs every year. Next, coin number 3. Today, we are taking a fascinating look at a United States state quarter from 2007, specifically a 2007 state quarter with the P mint mark and a green condition or green-toned appearance. According to the market value figure being discussed for this particular example, this coin is valued at approximately $107 today. But before you decide that every 2007 with P state quarter is worth more than $100, it is important to understand what makes an individual coin valuable. The date, mint mark, condition, surface appearance, exact state design, possible mint errors, varieties, and overall collector demand all have an important role in determining the final market value. A normal circulated state quarter can be worth close to face value, while an unusual or exceptionally preserved example can attract considerably more attention. That is what makes examining these coins so interesting. If you have a 2007 quarter with a P mint mark, the first important step is to identify the state represented on the reverse. The P tells us that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This small letter may seem insignificant, but mint marks are an important part of coin identification. A 2007 quarter with a P is different from the corresponding D mint issue, and collectors who build date and mint collections often separate these coins. The P mint mark therefore gives us an important piece of information about the coin's origin. Now let's talk about the green condition mentioned for today's coin. When a collector describes a quarter as green, that description can refer to the visible coloration of the coin's surface. However, green coloration requires careful examination because it can have several possible causes. A coin may develop unusual coloration because of environmental exposure, storage conditions, chemical reactions, contamination, or other substances that came into contact with the surface. Green color does not automatically mean that the coin has rare or valuable natural toning. In some circumstances, green material on a coin can actually indicate damage or contamination. Therefore, collectors should be cautious before assigning a premium simply because a coin appears green. The mint mark should also be inspected carefully. On the 2007 with P state quarter, the P indicates Philadelphia. Use magnification to examine the letter and surrounding area. Look for signs of unusual doubling or damage, but remember that not every doubled-looking feature is a valuable doubled die. Machine doubling, die deterioration, scratches, and other forms of post-production damage can create appearances that resemble varieties. Proper attribution is necessary before assigning a premium value. The edge of the coin is another area that should never be ignored. Modern state quarters are clad coins with a layered construction. Looking at the edge can sometimes provide clues about unusual plancher conditions or damage. Examine the reading, the color of the edge, and the thickness of the coin. If the edge appears dramatically different from a normal quarter, that could be a reason for further investigation. But again, unusual appearance does not automatically equal rarity. Another useful test is weight. If you believe your 2007 with P quarter has a major error, compare its weight with a known genuine quarter using a reliable digital scale. A significant difference can sometimes provide an important clue. However, minor differences may simply be the result of normal manufacturing tolerances, wear, or measurement inaccuracies. Weight should therefore be treated as one piece of evidence rather than conclusive proof. Collectors should also understand the difference between toning and damage. Toning is a change in the surface color that can occur naturally over time because of interactions between the coin's metal and its environment. Some forms of attractive natural toning are appreciated by collectors. Environmental damage, however, can produce undesirable surfaces. Green residue or corrosion-like material can be especially concerning. This is why the word green should not automatically be used as a synonym for valuable. The 2007 issues are particularly interesting because they represent a mature stage of the program. By this time, collectors had already become familiar with the 5-state-per-year schedule and were actively looking for every new design. Montana, Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah all brought different themes to the series. This variety makes the 2007 group an enjoyable part of a complete state quarter collection. The market value of a coin can also change over time. Collector interest can rise or fall. Auction results can vary. A coin may sell for one amount at one time and a different amount later. Dealer offers can also be lower than retail asking prices because dealers need to account for their business costs and resale risk. This is why a stated market value should be viewed as an estimate or reference point rather than a guaranteed selling price. If your 2007 with P state quarter is certified by a professional grading service, the certification can help establish the coin's grade and authenticity. A certified coin may be easier to compare with other examples because the grade is standardized. However, grading costs money, so it is generally most useful when there is a reasonable possibility that the coin's value justifies the expense. A common circulated quarter would not normally need professional certification, while a suspected major error or exceptional example might. Another important lesson is to avoid exaggerated claims. You may see videos or online listings claiming that ordinary 2007 state quarters are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Such claims often involve extremely rare errors, exceptional grades, or unusual auction results. They should not be used to value every ordinary quarter from the same year. Always identify the exact coin and compare it with credible sources. For viewers who are searching through old jars of coins, this is a great opportunity to examine your state quarters carefully. Pull out the 2007 examples and separate them by mint mark. Look for the P and D issues, then separate them by state design. Once you have done that, inspect the best-looking coins for unusual features. This simple process can turn a random collection of quarters into an organized group that is much easier to research. If you find a 2007 with P quarter with a green appearance, photograph it under neutral lighting. Take one photograph of the obverse, one of the reverse, and close-ups of the unusual area and mint mark. If the edge looks unusual, photograph that as well. Clear documentation makes it easier to compare your coin with reference examples. Never scrape or scratch the green area to see what is underneath. Doing so can permanently damage the coin. If the coloration is caused by a surface contaminant, a professional conservator may be able to advise you, but collectors should generally avoid attempting home restoration. The safest rule is simple: preserve first, investigate second. The P Mint mark itself is also a reminder of the long history of the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia has played a central role in United States coin production since the earliest days of the nation. Modern quarters produced there carry the P designation, making the tiny letter a direct connection between the coin in your hand and the facility where it was manufactured. The 2007 state quarter also reminds us that modern coins can become historical objects surprisingly quickly. When these quarters were released, they were ordinary circulating money. Today, they are collectibles that document a particular period of American history and culture. Over time, some examples will become more desirable because they are unusually well preserved, contain errors, or possess characteristics that collectors value. The green appearance in today's example makes the coin especially interesting to examine, but it should always be approached scientifically rather than emotionally. Ask what caused the color. Ask whether the surface is original. Ask whether the color is attractive or damaging. Ask whether the coin has other unusual characteristics. And most importantly, verify the answer before assigning a high value. For the purposes of this video, we are using the stated market value of approximately $107 for the particular 2007 with P state quarter being discussed. That figure should not be interpreted as a guaranteed value for every 2007 P state quarter. Actual market value depends on the exact coin and its characteristics. If your coin does not have the same attributes, its value could be dramatically different. So, if you have a 2007 with P state quarter, don't ignore it just because it is a modern coin. Check the date, confirm the P mint mark, identify the state, and examine both sides carefully. Look at the color, surfaces, rim, lettering, and edge. If you see something unusual, document it without altering the coin. If the coin appears to have a major error or exceptional characteristic, consider getting a professional opinion. The 2007 State Quarter Series is a wonderful example of how ordinary American money can become collectible. Montana, Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah each tell a different story. The P mint mark tells us where the coin was made. The condition tells us how well it survived circulation. The surface tells us something about its storage and environmental history. And any genuine error or variety can potentially separate one example from millions of others. If you enjoyed this detailed look at the 2007 with P State Quarter, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos about valuable U.S. coins, state quarters, Washington quarters, Jefferson nickels, Lincoln wheat pennies, Roosevelt dimes, Kennedy half dollars, mint errors, rare varieties, and coins that may be hiding in your pocket change. Share this video with your friends, family members, and fellow coin collectors. And tell us in the comments which 2007 State Quarter you have found. If you enjoy this video, subscribe the channel, like this video. And remember, every coin has a story. The next time you receive a quarter, don't automatically spend it. Turn it over, check the date, look for the mint mark, identify the design, and examine the condition. That small piece of metal could be a reminder of American history, a useful addition to your collection, or if it has a truly unusual characteristic, something worth investigating much more closely.